Hey there, and welcome. So let's talk about something we've all struggled with. Why is it so incredibly hard to stick with our goals? Today we're going to dive into a solution that's, well, it's so simple it's almost funny, but it just might change everything for you.
All right, first up, let's unpack what I call the big goal trap. You know the feeling, right? It's New Year's or maybe just a random Monday and you're buzzing with energy. You're ready to change your life, but give it a week or two and that motivation is just gone. Let's figure out why that initial spark almost always fizzles out.
I mean, think about it. You set these huge, ambitious goals. You can perfectly picture this new, amazing version of yourself. But then reality hits. A couple of weeks go by, and that fire just isn't there anymore. You skip a day at the gym, you put off that project, and before you know it, the whole grand plan just falls apart. If this sounds painfully familiar, trust me, you are not alone.
And when this happens, what do? We blame ourselves, right? We think, ugh, I'm just lazy, or I just don't have enough discipline. But what if I told you the problem isn't you? It's not a character flaw. What if it's the strategy itself that's completely broken? The real issue is that we're trying to tackle change from the absolute wrong direction.
This is where the author of Many Habits, Stephen Guise, comes in. He was totally stuck in this exact same frustrating loop. But his breakthrough came from a moment of complete and total burnout, and it led him to an idea that was, well, radically different.
For years, he'd try to commit to these fitness plans, and every single time, he'd give up. So one day, he sets this very reasonable goal: exercise for 30 minutes. Simple enough, right? But just the thought of it completely froze him. He was paralyzed by the sheer size of it, trying to force himself to start, but the effort felt like trying to climb a mountain. And then, right there in that moment of paralysis, this tiny thought popped into his head. Just one single push-up. It sounded ridiculous, almost pointless. But you know what? It worked. That one little push-up was enough to break through the mental wall, and it led to another and another. He actually felt powerful. For the first time in a long, long time, he proved to himself that he could do something when he said he would.
And this right here is the heart of the whole idea. A mini habit is an action that is so tiny, so ridiculously small, that your brain's natural resistance, that voice that screams, ugh, that's way too much effort, it doesn't even bother to show up. You're basically sneaking past the guards that normally stop you from even starting.
So why on earth does this work so well? Well, it all comes down to understanding the difference between two things we always get mixed up: motivation and willpower. And this is a really crucial distinction we have to make. We're taught to chase motivation, but honestly, it's a trap. Motivation is an emotion. It comes and goes. It's completely unreliable. If you only act when you feel like it, you'll never, ever be consistent. Willpower, on the other hand, is different. It's that quiet, dependable grit that lets you do the thing anyway, regardless of how you feel. And here's the game changer. It can be trained, just like a muscle.
To really get this, let's talk about a classic experiment from way back in 1996. A psychologist named Roy Baumeister had people come into a lab that was filled with the amazing smell of freshly baked chocolate chip cookies. He let one group eat the cookies, but the other group, oh, the poor other group, was told they had to resist the cookies and eat radishes instead.
So after this little temptation test, both groups were given a really difficult puzzle to solve. Now, the group that got to eat the cookies, they worked on it for almost 20 minutes. But the radish group, they gave up after only 8 minutes. Why? Because they had used up all their willpower just saying no to those cookies. This is so important. Willpower is a limited resource. It's like a battery. When you set a giant goal, you drain that battery just thinking about it. But a mini habit, it uses barely any power at all, leaving you with plenty left in the tank.
Okay, so we've covered the why behind all this. Now let's get into the practical stuff, the how. Let's build a simple playbook you can start using like today.
Getting started is so simple. Seriously. First, just pick a few habits you want to build. Next, shrink them down until they feel almost silly. One push-up, read one single page, write 50 words. The goal is to make it so easy it's basically impossible to say no. And finally, track it. Get a calendar and put a big X on it every single day you do it. You want to see that chain of success growing.
Now, to really make this system work, there are 3 rules you just can't break. Rule number 1, never cheat by making the goal bigger. If your goal is one push-up, doing one push-up is a 100% win. Anything else is just bonus points, not the new expectation. Second, celebrate every single win. Acknowledge that you did it. And last, if you ever feel even a little bit of resistance, make the habit even smaller. The only goal is to keep the momentum going, always.
So let's bring this all home and talk about the really powerful, long-term impact of this tiny strategy.
This is where the real magic happens. See, when you do a tiny task every single day, you're not just building a habit, you're building trust in yourself. You're proving to yourself over and over that you are the kind of person who does what they say they're going to do. And that growing belief in your own ability, psychologists call it self-efficacy, that's what actually fuels real, lasting change.
And that's really the big idea here, isn't it? Meaningful, big results don't come from some massive, heroic effort that just leaves you burned out. They come from the quiet, daily repetition of actions that are so small they're impossible to skip. It's the consistency that creates unstoppable momentum. So, the real question I want to leave you with isn't what huge goal are you going to set for next week? No, it's much smaller. What is one laughably small step, an action so tiny it feels silly not to do it, that you can take today? Because that one little step, that's where big change actually begins.